The American Citizen's Handbook, Day 2, the Constitution, America's Rulebook. Welcome to Spin Cycle America. I'm Coach. This isn't about political parties. This is about principles. It's about history, responsibility, freedom, and having honest conversations about the country we all call home. So let's get started. Yesterday, we talked about the first three words of the Constitution, we the people. Today, let's talk about the document itself. What is the Constitution? Why has it lasted for more than 2 centuries? Why should every American understand it? So today's topic, America's Rulebook. As a football coach, I know one thing for certain. You can't expect players to succeed if they've never learned the playbook. And I tell my players that all the time. Learn the playbook. Get into the playbook and learn it. Well, the nation is the same way. It's true for this nation. You have to learn your playbook. Well, the Constitution is America's playbook. It's made up of 27 amendments to the United States Constitution. The first 10 amendments ratified in 1791 are known as the Bill of Rights, with the remaining 17 added over the following 2 centuries. The most recent amendment was ratified in 1992. The amendments include the Bill of Rights. Again, the first 10, they ensure individual liberties. Total ratified amendments were 27 of them. The last amendment, like I mentioned earlier, was ratified in 1992. And that one was regarding congressional pay. Now, this is an interesting fact that I want to tell you. More than 11,000 amendments had been proposed, but only 27 met the stringent ratification process or requirement. So it's not that they're just going to zip on through the ratification process. It takes a lot. American people are proposing amendments on a daily basis, but they don't all go through. It doesn't tell us everything, and that's the Constitution. It's not going to tell us everything that we need to know or do, but establishes the rules, the limits of government, and the rights that protect the people. When the Constitution was written, the founders had just fought a war against a government they believed had become too powerful. And I'm going to say that again, against a government that they believed had become too powerful. And that's what we want to prevent now with our government. We want to make sure that they're not becoming too powerful. They also didn't want to be ruled by another king. They wanted a government strong enough to protect the nation, but limited enough to protect the liberty of citizens. So they wanted it to be controlled by the U.S. citizens. They didn't want the government to control them. So here's the main articles of the Constitution. Article 1 is the legislative branch. It establishes Congress, Senate, and the House of Representatives. It enumerates its powers such as taxing, borrowing, regulating commerce, and declaring war. So there's a conflict right there with that one in the executive branch. Vests executive power in the president and the vice president, defining their terms, election process, and responsibilities such as command of the military and making treaties. Then we have Article 3, which is the judicial branch, establishing the Supreme Court and authorizing Congress to create lower courts and defining the judiciary role in interpreting laws. So here's where we're starting to have a problem, because one side wants to create more judges on that branch. This will just destroy us, because then you're just going to have an imbalance, and we don't want that. Article 4, that's for the states, defines the relationship between the state and the federal government, including faith and credit. For state records, and process for admitting new states. So this also helps us if we decide we want to admit new states, because I know there's a couple of places out there or countries out there that want to become a state or something to that effect. Article 4, or I'm sorry, Article 5, which is the amendment process, details the process for amending the Constitution, requiring approval by Congress and states. That's why it's so hard to get amendments through the door. Article 6 is the federal power. This establishes the Constitution and federal laws as the supreme law of the land. Supremacy clause that requires officers to take oaths and support it. So that's the final say so. The federal government. It over and supersedes laws of the states. This is where we're having issues right now where some of the states are saying, no, you can't do this or you can't do that. They're actually overstepping their bounds. Article 7. This is the ratification. This sets the requirements for ratifying the Constitution. So this is when we want to ratify the Constitution and add new laws. That's why the Constitution divides power among three different branches of government. It helps keep us in balance. So no one branch of government can be in charge of the other one. It keeps us balanced. That's why it limits what the government can do and can't do. That's why it can be amended, but only through deliberate process. That's why it's so hard. That's why there's 11,000 different amendments thrown up there, and only 27 have been processed or approved. The Constitution itself isn't designed to make life easy. It's designed to protect freedom while providing stability. It has guided our nation through wars, economic crisis, social change, and moments of great division. We seem to be going through great division right now between the two parties, with the United States citizens sitting in the middle wondering what are we going to do. No document written by the people is beyond discussion or amendment. In fact, the Constitution includes a process for amendments because the founders understood that future generations, that's you and I and our generations underneath us, would face new challenges. But they also believed that challenges would be made difficult, thoughtful, and according to the rule of law. So think about that for a little bit. Our founding fathers knew what was coming. They had an idea, so they forethought about that. The Constitution belongs to every American, not just our government. It belongs to our Americans, the citizens out there. Whether you agree with every law or every court decision, understanding the Constitution helps you participate more effectively in our republic. Knowledge is one of the strongest safeguards of liberty. Learn and know your rights. It makes you, your community, and your nation stronger. So the Constitution Corner, let's talk about that. Article 1 establishes the legislative branch. Congress is responsible for making laws. It is made up of two chambers, the Senate and the House of Representatives. The division was designed to balance different interests while requiring cooperation before a bill becomes law. But sometimes there is a lack of cooperation, as you can currently see. You have the two parties fighting. So here's a little bit about history. On September 17th, 1787, delegates signed the Constitution after months of debate and compromise. If you know anything about the signing of the Constitution, it took a lot to ratify it and a lot to sign it. It didn't solve every disagreement, but it created a framework for government, self-government that has endured for generations. Every year, September 17th is recognized as Constitution Day, reminding Americans of the importance of understanding our nation's founding document. How many of you out there actually know about this date? I know it's considered Constitution Day and we don't really celebrate it, but how many of you actually know that date? So here's the verse for the day. The wise store up knowledge. Proverbs paragraph 10, verse 14. Learning about our nation's founding principles helps us become more informed citizens. You need to know the facts, everybody. Question of the day. Do you think every American should read the Constitution at least once? Why or why not? I'd love to hear your thoughts. It's an important document. Today's challenge is simple. Read Article 1 of the Constitution. You don't have to read it all at once. Just begin. Learning one section at a time is how knowledge grows. An informed citizen, such as yourself, is one of America's greatest strengths. Something I tell everybody. Knowledge is power. Become powerful. Because that keeps the government at bay. So here's the coach's final whistle. Every successful team has a playbook. Not because the playbook wins every game or wins games, but because it gives the team a common understanding of how to move forward together. America's Constitution has served as the playbook for generations, and it will continue to serve for generations to come. The more we understand it, the better prepared we are to protect the freedom it was given to serve, to preserve. I am Coach. Thank you again for joining me here on Spin Cycle America. Remember, this isn't about being perfect. It's about being responsible. It's about understanding where we came from, appreciating the freedoms we have, and doing our part to leave this country better for the next generation. Have a great day. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your family. And take care of each other. God bless you. God bless your family. And God bless, continue to bless the United States of America. You all have an outstanding day. I'll catch you on the next episode of Spin Cycle America.